They say your wedding day is supposed to be the happiest day of your life. For me, it started as the day I finally stopped apologizing for existing. My name is Elena Castellano, and I'm about to tell you about the wedding that changed everything. The one my family refused to attend, and the one that made them realize exactly what they'd lost. The morning of my wedding started at 5 a.m. in a historic castle overlooking the Mediterranean coast. I'd been awake for an hour already, staring at the vaulted ceiling of the bridal suite, trying to calm the butterflies in my stomach. 3 years of planning had led to this moment. The venue alone had taken 18 months to book. Castello di Laminar, a 14th-century fortress that had been converted into the most exclusive wedding destination in southern Europe. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. I reached for it, expecting a sweet message from my fiancé, Marcus. Instead, I saw a notification from the family group chat. Mom, girls, we have a situation. Vanessa's feeling really overwhelmed about her baby shower this afternoon. She needs us there. Family first, right? My blood went cold. I read it again, certain I'd misunderstood. My sister Vanessa's baby shower. Today. The same day as my wedding. The wedding they'd known about for 3 years. I scrolled up through the chat history, my hands shaking. There it was, every reminder I'd sent over the past 6 months. Save the dates. Flight information. Hotel confirmations. The itinerary I'd painstakingly crafted. All of it acknowledged with thumbs-up emojis and brief, sounds good responses. Another message appeared. Vanessa, I'm sorry Elena, but I'm feeling so anxious about becoming a mom. I really need mom and dad here today. You understand, right? You're always so understanding. I stared at those words. You're always so understanding. It was a phrase I'd heard my entire life, the coded language for, your needs don't matter as much as everyone else's. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Part of me wanted to type out everything I was feeling, the rage, the betrayal, the decades of being second place. But I knew what would happen. I'd be labeled as selfish, dramatic, bridezilla. The same way I'd been labeled oversensitive when I cried at 13 because they missed my piano recital for Vanessa's soccer game. The same way I'd been called ungrateful when I quietly mentioned that they'd forgotten my college graduation dinner because Vanessa had a cold. Instead, I typed, it's my wedding day. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then appeared again. Dad, Elena, don't be difficult. Vanessa is going through a major life transition. Your wedding is just one day. We'll celebrate with you another time. Just one day. My wedding, the culmination of finding true love after years of failed relationships, of building a career from nothing, of becoming someone I was actually proud of, was just one day. I set the phone down carefully, afraid I might throw it through the medieval window. There was a soft knock at the door. Elena, you awake? Marcus. Just hearing his voice steadied me. Come in. He entered in his pajama pants and t-shirt, holding 2 cappuccinos from the castle's kitchen. His dark hair was tousled from sleep, but his eyes were alert, immediately scanning my face. What happened? He set the coffees down and sat beside me on the bed. I handed him my phone without speaking. I watched his expression shift from confusion to disbelief to barely contained fury as he read through the messages. They're not coming, he said flatly. No. To your wedding. That they've known about for 3 years. Apparently Vanessa's baby shower is more important. Marcus was quiet for a long moment, his jaw working. Then he looked at me with an intensity that made my chest tight. Do you want to postpone? We can. We'll lose the deposits, but if you need your family here, no. The word came out stronger than I expected. No, I don't want to postpone. I want to marry you today, Marcus. I want to stand in that chapel and promise you forever. I'm just... My voice cracked. I'm tired of not being enough for them. He pulled me against his chest, and I let myself cry for exactly 3 minutes. Then I pulled back and wiped my eyes. I need to get ready, I said. Our guests start arriving in 4 hours. Marcus cupped my face in his hands. Elena, listen to me. Today, you're going to walk down that aisle, and you're going to be the most magnificent bride anyone has ever seen. And when you look at the people in those seats, you're going to see everyone who actually loves you. Everyone who showed up. That's your real family. I nodded, not trusting my voice. And after the ceremony, he continued, his eyes glinting with something I couldn't quite read, I have a surprise for you. Something that's going to make today unforgettable. Marcus, you've already given me so much. Trust me, he interrupted, a small smile playing at his lips. This is something special. By 2 p.m., I stood in the bridal suite, looking at myself in the full-length mirror. My dress was a masterpiece, custom Valentino, with intricate lace appliques and a cathedral train that seemed to float behind me. My dark hair was swept into an elegant updo, woven with fresh Mediterranean flowers. Diamond earrings, Marcus's gift, caught the afternoon light streaming through the arched windows. I looked like a princess. I felt like an orphan, My best friend Sophia stood behind me, adjusting my veil. She'd flown in from New York to be my maid of honor, taking a week off from her surgical residency. Marcus's sister Isabella was there too, having traveled from Milan with her family. The bridesmaids, my closest friends from university and work, had all made the journey. But the 3 seats in the front row reserved for my parents and sister would remain empty. "They're idiots," Sophia said quietly, meeting my eyes in the mirror. "But you already knew that." I thought. I paused, swallowing hard. I thought maybe this time would be different. "It's my wedding, Sophia. Who doesn't come to their daughter's wedding?" "People who don't deserve her," Isabella said firmly, placing a hand on my shoulder. "But Elena, you have a chapel full of people who traveled from all over the world to be here for you. That means something." Music drifted up from below, the string quartet warming up. In an hour, I would walk down the aisle. Without my father. Without anyone to give me away. My phone buzzed. Another message in the family group chat. "Vanessa, OMG you guys, the baby shower is amazing. Look at this cake." A photo followed. Vanessa in a flowing pink dress, surrounded by balloons and decorations, cutting into an elaborate 3-tiered cake. My mother stood beside her, beaming. My father had his arm around both of them. They looked so happy. I felt Sophia's hand tighten on my shoulder as she saw the screen. "Don't," she warned. "Don't do this to yourself." But I couldn't look away. In the photo, I could see at least 40 people crowded into what looked like a country club ballroom. 40 people who'd made time for Vanessa's baby shower. Meanwhile, my family couldn't spare a few hours for my actual wedding. Another photo appeared. This one showed my mother giving a toast, champagne glass raised. I could almost hear her voice. "To my baby girl, Vanessa, embarking on the greatest adventure of all, motherhood." My baby girl. Vanessa had always been my baby girl. I was just Elena. Capable Elena. Independent Elena. Elena who could handle anything, so why would she need attention or support? I realized my hands were shaking. Sophia gently took the phone from me and handed it to Isabella. "Put this somewhere safe. She doesn't need to see any more." "You know what?" I said, surprising myself with the steadiness in my voice. "They're right. I am capable. I am independent. And I'm about to marry the love of my life in a literal castle. I don't need people who don't value me. I never did." Sophia smiled, her eyes bright with tears. "There she is. There's my Elena." A knock at the door. One of the wedding coordinators peeked in. "Miss Castellano? It's time." The chapel at Castello di Luminaria was breathtaking. Originally built in 1342, it had soaring ceilings with exposed wooden beams, walls of honey-colored stone, and stained glass windows that painted rainbow patterns across the floor. White roses and peonies adorned every surface, their fragrance mixing with the scent of centuries-old incense. I stood at the entrance, looking down the long aisle. Every seat was filled, nearly 200 guests, all turned to look at me. Friends from childhood, colleagues from my architectural firm, Marcus's extended family, even some of my design clients who become friends over the years. All of them had made the trip. All of them had chosen to be here. In the front row, Marcus's parents sat where my family should have been. His mother caught my eye and pressed her hand to her heart, tears already streaming down her face. And at the end of the aisle, Marcus stood waiting. Tall and steady in his tailored navy suit, looking at me like I was the only person in the world. The string quartet began playing Canon in D, the traditional moment for the father of the bride to offer his arm, to walk his daughter down the aisle one last time before giving her away. But there was no father here. I took a breath, lifted my chin, and began walking alone. With each step, something shifted inside me. This wasn't a walk of shame or solitude. This was a choice. Every person in these seats had actively chosen to celebrate this day with me. They had rearranged schedules, booked flights, bought gifts, gotten dressed up, and traveled to another country because they believed in Marcus and me. That was worth more than obligation. That was worth more than blood relation. I kept my eyes on Marcus, watching his expression as I approached. Love, pride, awe. Everything I'd ever wanted to see in someone's face when they looked at me. When I reached the altar, he took both my hands in his, leaning close to whisper, "You are absolutely stunning. And you are so incredibly strong." The ceremony was beautiful. Our friend Father Giuseppe, who'd known Marcus since childhood, officiated with warmth and humor. We'd written our own vows, and when it was my turn to speak, I didn't falter. "Marcus," I began, my voice clear and steady, "you've shown me what it means to be chosen. Not out of duty or obligation, but because someone genuinely wants you in their life. You've shown me that love isn't about grand gestures or perfect moments, it's about showing up. Every single day, in every small way, you show up for me. You see me, you hear me, you value me. And today, in front of everyone who has shown up for us, I promise to spend the rest of my life showing up for you the same way." There wasn't a dry eye in the chapel. Marcus's vows were equally moving, though he had to pause several times to collect himself. When he finally slid the ring onto my finger, a custom-designed platinum band with sapphires and diamonds, his hands were trembling. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," Father Giuseppe declared with a broad smile. "Marcus, you may kiss your bride." And he did. Deeply, thoroughly, while 200 people cheered and applauded. We were married. And my family had missed it entirely. The reception was held in the castle's grand ballroom, a space that had once hosted medieval banquets for nobility. Crystal chandeliers hung from the vaulted ceiling, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Mediterranean Sea, now painted orange and pink by the setting sun. Dinner was served, 5 courses of Italian excellence prepared by a Michelin-starred chef. Speeches were made. Sophia told embarrassing stories from our university days. Isabella shared tales of Marcus's childhood antics. Marcus's father gave a touching toast about watching his son find his perfect match. Throughout it all, I kept glancing at my phone. Part of me, the same part that had spent 30 years seeking my family's approval, kept hoping they might surprise me. That they'd realize their mistake and show up. But there was nothing. Just more photos from Vanessa's baby shower, more messages about what a wonderful day they were having. As dessert was being served, an elaborate wedding cake topped with spun sugar and fresh berries, Marcus stood and tapped a champagne glass. "Everyone, if I could have your attention for just a moment." The room quieted, all eyes turning to him. "First, I want to thank all of you for being here. For traveling from near and far to celebrate this day with Elena and me. Your presence means more than you know." He paused, looking down at me with that same mysterious glint I'd seen that morning. "Elena, my love, I have one final surprise for you today." My heart skipped. "Marcus, you've already done so much. I know you've always dreamed of designing your own architectural masterpiece," he continued, pulling an envelope from his jacket pocket. "Something that would showcase your vision and talent. Well, I happen to know someone who owns a significant piece of property with historical value that desperately needs restoration." He handed me the envelope. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were legal documents, property deeds, and at the top, in bold letters, Castello di Luminaria, full ownership transfer. I stared at the papers, not comprehending. "What? I don't understand." "I bought the castle," Marcus said simply. "Well, we bought it. It's ours. And I want you to lead the restoration and conversion project. Your architectural firm already has the contract. I spoke with your partners months ago. This will be your signature project, Elena. Your legacy." The room erupted in gasps and applause, but I could barely hear it over the rushing in my ears. "You bought me a castle?" I whispered. "I bought us a future," he corrected. "You've spent years designing beautiful spaces for other people. Now you get to design one for yourself. For us. And for all the couples who will get married here after we're done, who will walk through doors you designed and look through windows you chose and stand in a ballroom you reimagined." Tears streamed down my face, smudging my carefully applied makeup. "This is too much. Marcus, this is what you deserve," he interrupted firmly. "This is what happens when someone actually sees your value and invests in it." The words hit me like a physical blow. Because that's exactly what it was, an investment in me. Not my potential usefulness or my ability to accommodate everyone else's needs. Just me. My dreams. My talent. This was what being chosen felt like. I stood and kissed him, not caring about the hundreds of people watching. When we finally broke apart, the room was cheering so loudly I thought the medieval walls might shake. As we sat back down, my phone began buzzing insistently. I pulled it out, expecting more baby shower photos. Instead, I saw dozens of missed calls from my mother. Text messages, flooding in one after another. "Mom, Elena? Mom, are those photos real? Mom, did you get married in a castle? Mom, why didn't you tell us it was going to be like this? Mom, call me immediately." I scrolled through my social media, where Sophia and several other guests had posted photos from the ceremony and reception. The images were stunning, professional quality shots that captured every elegant detail. The chapel. My dress. The ballroom. The cake. Marcus's surprise announcement had been caught on video, which was already going viral among our extended networks. And apparently, my family had finally seen them. "Vanessa, Elena, you got married in an actual castle and didn't tell us?" "Dad, Elena, we need to talk about this. This is very hurtful that you excluded your family from such an extravagant event." I read that last message 3 times, certain I'd misunderstood. Excluded them? Sophia, reading over my shoulder, made a noise of disgust. "Oh, now they care. Now that they see how incredible it is." More messages poured in. "Mom, we're getting in the car now. We can be there in 2 hours. Save us some cake." "Vanessa, I can't believe you didn't tell us how fancy this was going to be." All my friends are asking about it. Can we still come for pictures? Dad, Elena, we're your family. We should be there. We're coming. Something cold and hard settled in my chest. They weren't sorry they'd missed my wedding. They were sorry they'd missed the spectacle. Marcus, I said quietly, showing him the phone. His expression darkened. Do you want me to have security stop them at the gate? I considered it. The Castello had excellent security. It was one of the requirements for hosting high-profile events. One word from me, and my family would be turned away at the entrance. But that felt like hiding, like being ashamed. No, I said slowly. Let them come. I want them to see exactly what they chose to miss. They arrived at 10 p.m., just as we were preparing for the final dance of the evening. The Castello security called up to the ballroom, and Marcus gave them permission to enter. I watched from the balcony as my parents' car pulled up the long, tree-lined drive. Even from a distance, I could see their faces pressed against the windows, taking in the full majesty of the Castello, the illuminated stone walls, the towers silhouetted against the night sky, the Mediterranean stretching out beyond. They must have broken every speed limit to get here so fast. The three of them climbed out of the car. My mother in the same outfit she'd worn to the baby shower, my father in khakis and a polo shirt, Vanessa still in her pink maternity dress. They looked completely out of place against the formal elegance of the setting. Marcus squeezed my hand. You don't have to talk to them if you don't want to. I know, I said. But I think I need to. We met them in the Castello's grand foyer, a two-story entrance hall with a sweeping marble staircase and original Renaissance frescoes on the walls. A few lingering guests milled about, and I was acutely aware of how many eyes were on us. My mother rushed forward, arms outstretched for a hug. Elena! Sweetheart! Oh, you look absolutely beautiful. I can't believe. Don't. The word came out sharp enough that she stopped mid-step. Don't pretend you came here because you missed me. Elena, that's not fair, my father said, his tone taking on that familiar edge of disappointment. We had a prior commitment. We explained that. You had a commitment to my wedding, I said evenly. A commitment you made 3 years ago. Vanessa needed us, my mother insisted. You know how anxious she gets, and I didn't need you? The question hung in the air between us. On my wedding day, I didn't need you? Vanessa finally spoke, her voice trembling. Elena, you're always so strong. You never need anyone. We just assumed. You assumed I didn't feel anything. I interrupted. That I wouldn't care if my entire family skipped my wedding? We didn't know it was going to be like this, my mother said, gesturing around the foyer. If you'd told us. Told you what? My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. That I mattered? That my wedding was important? I shouldn't have had to sell you on attending your own daughter's ceremony. Elena, honey, you're being very emotional right now, my father said in his reasonable voice. Maybe we should discuss this tomorrow when you've calmed down. Something inside me snapped. No, I said flatly. We're going to discuss this right now. Because I've spent 30 years calming down. I've spent 30 years being understanding and accommodating and flexible while everyone else got to be the priority. Do you know what I did this morning when I got your messages? They stared at me, silent. I cried. I continued. I cried in my wedding dress, on what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, because my own family couldn't be bothered to show up. And then do you know what I did? Still silence. I walked down that aisle alone, in front of 200 people. Because not one of you could be here to walk with me. Elena, we didn't think. My mother started. That's the problem. I said, my voice echoing off the frescoed walls. You never think. About me. About how your choices affect me. You've been doing this my entire life. Every recital, every graduation, every achievement, there was always something more important. Someone else who needed you more. That's not true, Vanessa protested weakly. Isn't it? I turned to her. Tell me one, just one, significant event in my life that didn't get overshadowed by something going on with you. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. I can tell you several of yours that I attended, I continued. Your high school graduation, even though I had to miss my own college orientation. Your engagement party, even though I had a major presentation the next morning. Your baby shower. Oh wait, that was today, wasn't it? The one you all chose over my wedding. Now that's enough, my father said sternly. You're embarrassing yourself. And us. Marcus stepped forward, his voice dangerously quiet. With all due respect, sir, you embarrassed yourselves the moment you chose a baby shower over your daughter's wedding. My father's eyes narrowed. This is a family matter. She's my wife now, Marcus said simply. Which makes it my matter too. And I'm going to tell you something you apparently need to hear. Elena is extraordinary. She's brilliant and talented and kind. She built a successful architectural firm from nothing. She designs spaces that win international awards. She has friends who flew across the world to be here for her. And the three of you nearly destroyed this day for her because you couldn't be bothered to prioritize her for once in her life. We're here now, my mother said desperately. Doesn't that count for something? You're here because you saw the photos, I said. Because you realized this was the kind of event that looks good on social media. You're not here because you love me or because you're sorry. You're here because you realized you missed out on something impressive. The accusation hung heavy in the air. None of them denied it. Can we at least take some family photos? Vanessa asked finally, her voice small. Everyone keeps asking me about my sister's castle wedding. And there it was. The real reason they'd come. I looked at my family, these people who'd raised me but never really seen me, and felt something shift. Not forgiveness, exactly. More like acceptance. Acceptance that they were never going to be what I needed them to be. And that was okay, because I didn't need them anymore. No, I said quietly. No photos. No reconciliation. Not tonight. Elena, my mother's voice broke. You need to leave, I said, not unkindly but firmly. You made your choice this morning. Now I'm making mine. You can't just cut us out of your life, my father said, his face reddening. Watch me, I replied. I've spent 30 years trying to earn your attention and approval. I'm done. If you want to be part of my life going forward, you're going to have to prove that you actually value me. Not my successes, not what I can do for you, but me. As I am. That's ridiculous, Vanessa said. We're your family. Family shows up, Marcus said simply. You didn't. I took Marcus's hand, drawing strength from his solid presence beside me. I need you to leave. All of you. And I need you to think very carefully about whether you're capable of the kind of change that would make a relationship with me possible. Because I'm not going back to how things were. I deserve better than that. My mother was crying now, mascara running down her face. Elena, please. Don't do this. I'm not doing anything, I said. You already did it. This morning, when you chose not to come. We stood there for a long moment, the six of us, my old family and my new one, at an impasse. Finally, my father cleared his throat. I think you'll regret this. Maybe, I acknowledged. But I won't regret marrying Marcus in this beautiful place, surrounded by people who genuinely love me. Can you say the same about your choices today? They left without answering. I watched them walk back to their car, getting smaller and smaller as they moved down the long drive, until the darkness swallowed them completely. Marcus wrapped his arms around me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. You okay? Actually. I turned in his arms to look up at him. Yeah, I think I am. The next morning, I woke up in the Costello's honeymoon suite, a stunning room with a canopy bed and windows overlooking the sea. Marcus was already awake, propped up on pillows, reading messages on his phone. Social media has exploded, he said when he saw I was awake. Everyone's talking about the Costello wedding. You're trending. I groaned and buried my face in the pillows. That's the last thing I need. Look at this one. He tilted the screen toward me. It was a post from one of Italy's premier wedding magazines. Architectural firm owner Elena Castellano marries in 14th century Castello she now owns, future restoration to be led by the bride herself. The article included several photos from the wedding and a quote from me about my vision for the restoration project. I didn't remember giving an interview, but apparently our wedding planner had prepared a press release. Your firm's website crashed, Marcus continued, scrolling through emails. Too much traffic. And you have 17 new client inquiries just from this morning. My phone started ringing. Sophia, have you seen the news? She demanded the moment I answered. I'm looking at it now. Your mother has been calling me all morning, Sophia said. She wants me to convince you to talk to her. What did you tell her? That you're on your honeymoon and not to be disturbed. But Elena. Sophia paused. She seems genuinely upset, like actually crying upset, not her usual dramatic manipulation stuff. I sighed, sitting up against the headboard. Sophie, I love you, but I can't think about this right now. Can you just handle her? Tell her I'll reach out when I'm ready. Of course. But there's something else you should know. What? Vanessa posted on social media about how hurt she is that you excluded her from your wedding. She's getting a lot of sympathy comments. My stomach dropped. She what? Sophia sent me the link. I opened it to find a long emotional post from my sister. I'm heartbroken today. I just found out my sister Elena got married in a literal castle in Italy, and I wasn't invited. She claims it's because I had a prior commitment, my baby shower, but she never told any of us how elaborate her wedding was going to be. If I'd known, I obviously would have rescheduled. But instead, she chose to exclude her entire family from this huge milestone. I don't understand what I did to deserve this. I've always supported her, but apparently that doesn't matter anymore. Family should come first, but I guess some people forget that. Hashtag heartbroken, hashtag family matters, hashtag baby on the way. The post had hundreds of comments, most of them sympathetic. That manipulative, I couldn't even finish the sentence. Marcus read over my shoulder, his expression darkening. Want me to respond? No, I said slowly, an idea forming. I have a better idea. I opened my own social media and began typing. To everyone asking about my wedding, yes, I got married yesterday in Castello di Luminaria. It was beautiful and perfect and everything I dreamed of. My family was invited 3 years ago when we first booked the venue. They received save the dates, formal invitations, itineraries, flight information, and countless reminders. Yesterday morning, they informed me they would not be attending because they had chosen to go to my sister's baby shower instead, an event that was scheduled for the same day as my wedding and that they were aware conflicted with my ceremony. I walked down the aisle alone. I said my vows without my parents present. I danced my first dance as a married woman while the seats reserved for my family sat empty. But I was surrounded by nearly 200 people who love me, support me, and who made the effort to show up for the most important day of my life. That taught me more about the meaning of family than 30 years of blood relation ever did. I don't regret my choices. I don't regret setting boundaries. And I don't regret prioritizing people who prioritize me. To everyone who traveled from around the world to be there, thank you. You gave me the greatest gift, the knowledge that I am loved for who I am, not for what I can do or how much I accommodate. That's all I have to say on this matter. I attached several photos from the wedding, me walking down the aisle alone, Marcus and me at the altar, the Castello at sunset. Then I posted it. Within minutes, the narrative began to shift. The comments poured in. Wait, they knew about the wedding and chose not to come? Your sister scheduled her baby shower on your wedding day? That's insane. You walked down the aisle alone? I'm crying. This is what boundaries look like. Good for you. The castle is stunning, but the real story is you standing up for yourself. My phone exploded with notifications. Messages of support from friends, acquaintances, even strangers who'd seen the post. And then, a text from my mother. Mom, how could you publicly humiliate us like this? Not, I'm sorry. Not, you're right, we made a terrible mistake. Just anger that I'd told the truth. I showed Marcus the message. He shook his head in disbelief. They're never going to change, are they? I said quietly. Maybe not, he replied. But you already have. That's what matters. We spent the next 2 weeks in Italy, partly honeymoon, partly business meetings. The Castello restoration project was massive, and I threw myself into it with enthusiasm. The previous owners had maintained the structure but done little to modernize or update. My vision was to preserve the historical integrity while making it functional for contemporary events. New climate control systems, updated electrical, state-of-the-art catering kitchens, all hidden within the medieval walls. I met with engineers, contractors, and historical preservation specialists. I sketched designs late into the night, reimagining spaces that had stood for nearly 700 years. Marcus watched me work with obvious pride. This is what you should have been doing all along, he said one evening as I pored over architectural drawings at the Castello's library. Not just designing for other people, but creating your own legacy. I couldn't have done this without you, I said. The financial investment alone is exactly what your talent deserves, he interrupted. Elena, I'm not your benefactor. I'm your partner. Your success is my success. Your dreams are my dreams. It was such a stark contrast to my family's attitude. With them, my achievements were always qualified, impressive, but why did I need to work so hard? Good, but couldn't I have done it sooner? Nice, but what about Vanessa's needs? Marcus celebrated me unconditionally. It was intoxicating and terrifying in equal measure. My family continued to text intermittently. My mother sent long, rambling messages about how hurt they were. My father's texts oscillated between guilt-tripping and anger. Vanessa mostly sent passive-aggressive memes and screenshots of people defending her in the comments of her post. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I focused on my work, my marriage, and the incredible opportunity in front of me. The Castello restoration became my therapy and my purpose. The project progressed faster than expected. By winter, we completed the structural assessments and begun the actual restoration work. I split my time between our home in New York and the Castello, where we'd set up a temporary residence in a completed guest wing. My architectural firm was thriving. The publicity from the wedding had brought in high-profile clients from across Europe and North America. I'd hired 3 new associates and expanded our office space. Professionally, I was soaring. Personally, I was learning what it felt like to be truly valued. My family's texts had slowed to occasional messages, mostly from my mother, usually on holidays or birthdays. I'd responded politely but distantly to a few. When my mother asked if we could meet for coffee when I was back in New York, I'd agreed, with the caveat that it would be just the two of us and that I wasn't interested in rehashing the wedding. We met at a cafe in Manhattan on a cold February afternoon. My mother looked older than I remembered, with new lines around her eyes and mouth. "You look wonderful," she said as I sat down. "Marriage agrees with you." "Thank you." We ordered coffee and sat in uncomfortable silence for a moment. "I've been seeing a therapist," my mother said finally. "After the wedding. After your post went viral and everyone, well, it made